Back here with Hannibal at Bay, Volume 1 of the Rome at War series, playing the first scenario, Watchtower of Agathocles. We really just started into the action. Laelius charged the center of the Carthaginian line here and resulted in basically driving off the Numidians here. I talked about, in the earlier video, I talked about that I would double check the charging, whether the charging movement was valid. Laelius started over here in area 74. This was the target area, area 38. And the rule is you trace a straight line from the originating area to the center of the target area. And basically, the path taken by charging units may only pass through areas that lie along a straight line traced between the center of the starting area and the center of the target area. So as you see there, the charging units could move from 74 to 59, because 59 is touched by the straight line, diagonally to 51, because 51 is crossed by the line, and then to the target hex. So I think that that was valid. Okay. Before I get started again, one way to think of these games from a little bit of experience, I have played about 5 or 6 games from the Fading Legions, Volume 2, and a couple of games of Volume 3, Queen of the Celts. This is my first scenario playthrough for Hannibal at Bay. But one way to look at these games is ancient battle games with all the detail, and I mean all the detail, sanded away. And what are you left with? Now, of course, some gamers might say you can't possibly be left with anything interesting, and actually I have wondered that myself. But I think, well, first of all, the games have some strange charm, which I'll talk about in just a minute. But as far as shaving away all the detail and what's left, basically you have a game that focuses, although I'm not sure this focuses on anything, but it's a game where you get to see the grand sweeping battle movements, large formations smashing against each other, large missile volley attacks, sweeping charges, and that's pretty much it. So you would think that that would not really be enough to hold you at all. But there's that strange charm, very strange charm of the series. And it may have to do with getting back to something I've mentioned before, I think, on video, and that is the miniatures tabletop paper hybrid. Now, hands down, these games suffer a lot. I really do think they suffer a lot, because miniatures wargamers are not going to take this seriously, and Hex Encounter dedicated historical or conflict Hex Encounter gamers are not going to take this seriously. So it's a strange nether area, nether world that these types of games are left in. But they have but I do think they have a strange charm. Like, if you look here with all the little figures on the counters, right? The 3-horsed figures there, 2-horsed figures here, and up here, you can see the thin Carthaginian line, and then you can see the massed Roman cavalry there that just charged into the center. And you can see this even more. You can see this even more when you get to the when you add the long counters, where you have even more visible massed formations, and as they lose steps, they diminish in size. The fact that the counters use a kind of ground background, which blends in fairly nicely with the map, it's evocative of a miniatures game. Now, of course, I would never expect that to pass for dedicated miniatures wargamers who value the time researching uniforms, painting, preparing their stands, and so on and so forth. But if you're not into that, then this is a interesting way to just experience from a very high level in ancient battle. Fast play. It is fast play. The games, I will say that these games live up to their billing as fast play. Okay. All right, so we'll start the next turn. No weather, no reinforcements, command phase. Okay, so now we do who is out of range. So command range is however far the leader could move in a turn. So basically it's based on the movement mechanics and terrain cost, etc. So each army commander and formation leader has a command radius. So I think both players are doing this. Each player identifies which formation leaders are within the command radius of their army commander. Okay, so army commander for the Romans is Scipio over here. He can trace to Laelius, obviously, 1, 2, 3, and I think that you can move diagonally, so I guess you trace diagonally, right? So 1, 2, 3 to Massinissa, no issue there. And the Carthaginians only have one commander, Hanno, so I don't think that we're doing anything in this phase. But this is if Massinissa over here was out of range, you'd flip him over to his check initiative side to remind you that when you try to activate him, he has to do an initiative check to activate. Okay, but I think everybody is in command radius. So go to okay, initiative phase, order of battle. Players roll to determine which player is the first player. 5.1. Here's 5.1. Order to determine who goes first at the start of the turn, each player rolls 1 die. So we'll say the Romans roll a 3. Carthaginians roll a 3. Okay, what do you do with ties? Blah, 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 blah. The player with the higher total, and adds his army commander's initiative. So Scipio has 5, plus 3 is 8, and Hanno only has 3, plus 3 is 6, so Scipio wins again. The player with the higher total result chooses which player will attempt to activate his or her formation's first reroll ties. So why? I don't think Scipio would surrender the initiative here, so Scipio will go first. So now he tries to activate formations, plural, 1 or more formations. So he rolls 2, subtracts the result from his initiative. So initiative of 5 minus 2 is 3. The result is the number of formations that the player may activate. So Scipio has a very high initiative of 5, so he can activate up to 3 formations. So he has 3 formations. So when the first player finishes activating all the formations allowed by his activation die roll, then it'll go to the opponent. So I think that Scipio has the option to activate up to all 3 of his formations. So What would he want to do with Massinissa? I think we are gonna. So let's say he starts with activating Massinissa here with his 1 reduced Numidian cavalry here. You know, I just realized. That the later. See, the later. Let's notice this now. Okay, so the later. Missile capable units. So this is from a later game, Volume 3, I think. Has on the top right there are 2 arrowheads. That, if I remember correctly, that tells you that this unit has a missile fire range capability up to 2 areas in range. But these older counters, I'm not sure how to tell their range, because obviously they don't have the arrowheads in the top right. So, that's interesting. Okay, is there a quick way to tell? Is there? Yeah. I don't see a quick way to tell. Well, light cavalry. Well, let's go to the range combat, missile fire. The ability of a unit to attack enemy units at a range of 1 area or possibly more, without the enemy units being able to respond unless they also have missile fire capability. Any unit with 1 or more javelins or arrows in the upper right corner may use missile fire, but that again, I think that's a later convention that was added. So how do you... okay. Missile range. Again, I think this is for later. The number of javelins or arrows in the upper right corner. Okay. Yeah. Alright, well, I'm going to make a judgment call here, which could be completely wrong and I'll have to change later. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and say that the 1 arrow in the lower left behind the unit symbols, which I know is older counter style, I'm going to say that 1 arrow means that he has a range of 1 for missile capability. Okay, so Massinissa will activate. Massinissa will activate here, and we'll move. We'll move here. So, so again, artillery bombardment none, charge none, movement. Okay, movement. I don't think there's anything unusual here at all. I don't think. No, I don't think there's anything unusual at all. Units may move diagonally unless blocked by enemy units or terrain. Movement allowances, movement and facing. Yeah, okay, so they move. Massinissa is done. So I'll go ahead and mark him as done. then I get to go right to my next Eulalius here. Just gonna charge. Yeah, they are gonna charge. So go right back to charge. They will charge. Laley is here with his heavy cavalry. You're going to charge the light cavalry here. So, again, facing only matters for the long units. Okay, so... Oh, sorry, they cannot charge. You cannot charge starting adjacent. Okay, so it's not charge, so it's just assault. So we'll go to assault. Section 13, assault. Review my rules summary cheat sheet here real quickly. Assault, segment. Assaults are voluntary, not heavy infantry. Defender makes morale check. I do believe that's true. Yeah, so procedure, assault, adjacent, opposing units. Only active units may initiate assault. Attacking is voluntary. Okay. Right, procedure. Locking shields. Locking shields applies to long units, so skip that morale check. So it is a morale check. So we do have to figure out the morale. I think that is, well, we basically just have 2 units with a morale of 2. Is that correct? Yes, it is. So we have the 2 Numidian cavalry here. They're each 2 4s, strength of 2, morale of 4. Sorry, I had that backwards. Strength of 2, morale of 4. So I think it's just 4 for the area morale. They roll a 2. I think that's fine. They pass just fine. Yeah. Okay, now we have withdrawal and advance. Now I wonder if they... See, this is light cavalry. I absolutely think that they should withdraw if they can. If the defending area passed a morale check, yes. Eligible units there may withdraw and avoid combat. It's 1400 withdrawal. Eligible units defending against a charge or assault may avoid combat by moving away from the units attacking them. Withdrawing units and leaders may move one area only. I assume they can move diagonally. I gotta look at that again. Diagonally adjacent areas are open for tracing command radius, charges, movement, and assault. Only if both areas flanking the diagonal boundary are free of any units. Oh. Oh. Maybe not. I'll tell you right now, I don't know if it's just my mind, but I'm constantly reviewing diagonal adjacency in this game. So now we go to that was the old QRC in the 3rd edition rules. Diagonally adjacent areas are open for charges, movement, assault, withdrawal, forced retreat, repelled charges, and tracing command only if both areas flanking the diagonal boundary are free of enemy leaders or units and do not contain any impassable terrain. Oh, the confusion. Free of enemy leaders or units. Do they mean free of enemy leaders or enemy units? Or do they mean free of enemy leaders or units, friendly and enemy? So what I'm going to do is, I guess I'll triangulate here from the 3rd edition rules and reference back to the old QRC. It would mean that any units, that's friendly or enemy, block for movement. Friendly units do not block command radius. I'm not sure I agree with that. I don't see why these units couldn't move diagonally here one area, but I'll go with a strict interpretation of the rules as best I can here. So I guess they'll withdraw, not retreat, withdraw to area 28. Light cavalry may always withdraw from a charge or assault. It includes only enemy heavy cavalry. This includes only enemy heavy cavalry. I assume the leader doesn't matter here. So I think they can just automatically withdraw one. Like that. The area withdrawn into may not be adjacent to any attacking units. That doesn't work. May only be adjacent to other enemy units if there is no other withdrawal route available. And may not contain impassable terrain or enemy units. Oh. So this is still adjacent. So actually they're stuck. Which is why adjacency was relevant, because I guess they can't withdraw into these two areas. And they must all withdraw to the same area. Cavalry 3. So there's 6 stacking points per area. Light cavalry or cavalry count for 3 stacking points. So area 40 is already full. So I guess they can't withdraw. Okay. Huh. Still seems strange. See, I'm not sure that if it were up to me, I'm not sure I would not allow this because... Seems a little strange. Alright. Withdrawal in advance. So that's that for step 3. Step 4, combat. If after any withdrawals, if any area still has defenders, combat ensues. So how do we do combat? So we have 2 heavy cavalry units with a strength of 4 each. All units, see, okay. Gotta figure out our combat here. Have the combat strength of units using missile. There's no missile. There's no missile fire for the attackers. Combat strength. Effects are simultaneous. Each player adds applicable die roll modifiers. Every modifier results 6 or 7 is a hit. Got that. Okay. So I think do the attacker first. I think it's 4 and 4 is 8. Plus 2 for Laelius is 10. I think they're rolling 10 dice. Add the tactical ratings of all senior leaders involved in the assault. Not sure what that means, but we only have one leader. Okay, here it is. The attacking player rolls a number of dice equal to the total modified combat strength of all attacking units, and the defender does the same for all defending units, rolling separately for each area. Okay. Alright, so I guess it is 10. Wow. 10, and this is, for what it's worth, this is buckets of dice. All those, and we have 1 hit. Let's look at the modifiers. Add 1 to the result for every die rolled by units in the following circumstances, maximum +1 to each die. So however that's worded, I think that what they're saying is there are 5 cases here. If any of them apply, you're adding 1 to every dice roll. I think that's it. I think that's what that means. Yeah, even though I think it's kind of odd wording. Okay, he's not attacking a rear flank of a long unit. The attacking and defending area whose area morale is half or less. That's not. The morale of both sides are 4. So that doesn't apply. Assaulting overstacked area, no. Elephants, no. Infantry or horse archers using missile fire when attacking or defending against elephants doesn't apply. So none of those apply. So only modified 6s or 7s result in a hit. So we have a grand total of 1 hit for the Romans. Okay. It happens, right? All right, so the Numidians have a combined strength of 4. Combined strength of 4. And they also get 1 hit. I don't think that they were allowed to use missile fire. I think that's the case. I think that's the case. A missile-capable unit may fire at any enemy-occupied area in range to which it has line of sight, unless enemy units are in an area adjacent to the firing unit and the intervening boundary has no blocking terrain. In that case, the unit must fire at the adjacent area. Well, that's just talking about units farther away. No units may attack more than once per turn. Yeah. I'm not seeing anything in black and white, but I think that the Numidians have to assault back. Yeah, okay, so I guess they have 1 hit on each. So to satisfy, I think the Numidians have to lose 1 of these because they're already reduced. And I think the Romans have to reduce their cavalry units like that. 16 step losses. Every hit scored in combat by friendly units causes a step loss to enemy unit. Owning player chooses which unit takes step losses. Exceptions, there are restrictions. Small units flip each small unit that takes a step loss to its reduced strength side, or eliminate if it's already a reduced strength side and has, or if it has only 1 side. Okay. Restrictions I don't think come into play because they're all the same types of units. Yeah, I guess that's it. Okay, so that's it. I think that was just a type of a combat resulting in attrition. That's it. So Laelius is done. And now we go. Okay, now we go to Scipio. Well, Scipio's at the head of heavy cavalry too. So why would he not charge? Well, that's interesting. Could he charge the target area? Do they spell that out? Each attack on a given area is a separate assault. Each area may only be assaulted once per assault segment, but this is another assault segment. Yeah, I don't see why not. 'Cause this is a separate assault segment. Um, uh, yeah, I don't remember one thing or the other on this. So, action phases, required activation. Oh, a player may not pass. He must activate the number of formations allowed by his activation roll. That seems to contradict the earlier may. The result is the number of formations that the player may activate. Then later it says must activate the number of formations allowed by the activation roll. I still don't see. Okay, I still don't see why they couldn't charge, and so he can go. Yeah, he can go 73 to 60, 60 to 50, 50 to 39. So wow, this is a pretty significant advantage accrued by having a much better commander and having 3 formations to 1 Carthaginian formation, I guess, as far as I can see so far. Okay, so they are going to charge. So they move to the area adjacent. Defender makes a morale check. He passes. Okay, now he decides to withdraw. Defending player decides whether to withdraw or countercharge. Definitely not going to countercharge. Now I think he can withdraw because now the attackers are over here. I think they can withdraw here because even though it's adjacent to enemy units, it's the may only be adjacent to other enemy units if there is no other withdrawal route available. I think that's it. I think they can withdraw here. So now what happens, because they withdrew, elbow units where to do the same things. Okay, units being pursued may not countercharge but may withdraw. If units remain in the target area, no. So here again, we get back to advance, mandatory advance. They have to advance. Can they pursue? Don't think so. Don't think so. Pursuit. If defenders retreat, 12.6. Well, no, that was a withdrawal, not a retreat. So is that the difference? Possibly. Yeah, I think that we're just done. And then I'll mark Scipio, and then play passes now to the Carthaginian player, but he's getting in a pretty bad situation.